Right off the bat, did you like that Persona 5 game? Did you really like the Persona 5 Tactica game? If you don't make it through this whole video, or if you don't even want to watch the whole video, and you just clicked on it and you're just hearing this part, can you just tell me for sure, did you really like that Persona 5 Tactica game? Like, you don't have to explain it. If you want to explain it, that'd be cool too. But just drop a yes or a no. That's all I want to know, genuinely. I have played Persona 5 Tactica in its entirety and unlocked almost every single achievement except 10. This game, without a doubt, made me think of a time that has passed, and that time was the year 2017. 2017 was a crazy year. Donald Trump was in office. He was always tweeting something. Russia had got caught up in the elections and all of that was going on. North Korea was talking about nuclear weapons. Tom Brady staged one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history. And to top it all off, we even had a solar eclipse that year. But none of that is why 2017 was memorable for me. 2017 was the year of celebrations and goodbyes and hellos and great games. You had Destiny 2 out, Nier Automata was out, Horizon Zero Dawn was out, A Night in the Woods was out, Prey had came out that year. And then I also bought Persona 5 later on that year because it interested me. And Persona 5 was interesting to me simply because of how the game worked and how it looked. And it offered a window into Japanese society that I had never seen because I've never really ventured outside the States. And I found it to be refreshing and really cool. Another thing I found cool about the game was the combat and the confidant system. I liked how the confidant system played a huge emphasis on your gameplay, considering that each confidant offered different abilities to help you further your combat prowess in the game. So when Persona 5 Tactica was announced, I was naturally excited. In my previous video, I read reviews on Xbox about Persona 5 Tactica, and I said a lot of things about those reviews, and honestly, I don't even remember what I said, but I know that I probably will contradict myself, maybe. So I'm going to make that disclaimer right now, that I may contradict myself from that previous video. I will say that I still stand by the fact that those reviews shouldn't be a 1 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5, but I will say that having played the game in its entirety, I can see some of the complaints. And one of them was how the game takes place in a 2D setting with stagnant backgrounds. That is probably one of my biggest gripes of the game. The game is really heavy on dialogue, but since you can't really see characters be expressive or show levels of emotion that you would expect from a Persona game, it kind of takes away a lot of the wanting to hear it, because there's so much dialogue in Persona games, especially this one. A large point of the game is just dialogue. I think the game is only 50 levels. If you would just play all 50 levels without any dialogue, I'm pretty sure the game is probably 4 hours at most, if that. There's just so much dialogue that it stretches from 4 hours to probably 10 just off the dialogue alone. And it all takes place in the same setting with the same stagnant backgrounds, which is boring, and all of the dialogue is just exposition or people explaining things that you could have surmised by just paying attention to what was going on around you, or they're explaining things that happen in the game, beforehand, like the original Persona 5. You still play as Joker, who is not the main character this time around, as the game will naturally tell you so many times. And since you play as Joker, who already has no voice due to him being a silent protagonist, a lot of the dialogue is, other people talking that it's not him. And when he does have a line, it's just a one line, which nobody really cares about and continues to have the conversation anyway. When they're not talking, they are fighting. The combat is fun, it's cool, and it has a lot of potential, and it does require you to think a lot of the time. I did play the game on hard, which I felt wasn't very hard, so I might go back and play it on merciless to see if that changes my opinion of the game. But it does have a high degree of repetition, considering that all you have to do is hit an enemy with a status ailment, then shoot him, then get him one more, and repeat that, and then do an all-out attack. So that's pretty much the gameplay loop. Outside of, actual combat, you use skills and personas to further enhance your combat experience. The skill system I like. It makes sense in a game like this. And the skills are directly tied to the mainstay personas like Arsene, Zoro, Captain Kidd, Carmen, Goemon, those guys. And it also affects individuals by like increasing the amount of HP they have, SP, how much damage they can take in and out of cover, movement, things like that. And special abilities like increasing gun damage, melee damage, HP, SP. And they even have their own star attacks. I don't know what those are called, but I'm just gonna call them star attacks, where they do a really cool move if the voltage gauge is full. With this being a Persona game, they naturally found a way to bring the Velvet Room back.
One moment, please.
This was probably the weakest aspect of the game for me. I would have liked this game so much more if the Velvet Room wasn't in there. It just seems out of place and a function to further pad out gameplay. In the original Persona 5, your confidants play a direct role in how you level up your personas, considering that they provide them with EXP boosts and things of that nature. In this game, none of that matters. Even if you were to fuse two high level personas together, it will not affect the level, and it will also not affect the stats that they come with. So naturally, once I found this out, I just started fusing personas like crazy and not caring, just to see how fast I could level up the compendium. And since I'm at like level 70 something, I think I've maxed out like 70% of the compendium, considering like I think you have to be 99 to get all of the personas. So I have naturally gotten almost every persona in the game my first playthrough, which I've never done before, because you kind of want to make personas based off your playstyle and what you really want. But since that didn't really matter, I just was fusing them like crazy. Like they was just candies. I was just fusing like wildly, just trying to get the next high level persona, which would either give me better stats or not better stats. But it really didn't matter because it just didn't. I just felt like that was a lazy move on Atlas' part, and they could have just left that whole fusion system out. And yeah. Now on the flip side of that, the fusion system does let you transmute your weapons again, but this time the weapons being like only limited to your ranged weapons. So you can put like sleep, dizzy, and all that burn and shock on your weapon, which is kind of cool. But considering the fact that everybody can just do that already with their persona, it's just not a system that I used very often. And the only time I used it was to try to get the achievement for inflicting sleep like 20 times on an enemy. And the only people who could get sleep on their weapons was like Ryuji and Haru. So again, this system still felt kind of useless. When the characters aren't fighting or engaging with some boss or some story related missions, they are at the Blanc, where they drink coffee, interact with each other, laugh, play cards, and do all this fun stuff. And the animations for all that stuff looks amazing. Like if the story was told through those animations, I probably would have liked the game even more. And to know that those animations exist in the game pisses me off to no end. And while you're there, you can do quests, you can level up your skills, you can replay missions, you can do all kinds of things. You can even talk more because there's more dialogue at the hideout that you can engage in to further pad out characters or pad out situations or try to further explain things that may not have been explained previously and things of that nature. And also doing the quests, knits you more skill points that you can use for certain people who are involved in said quest. Other than that, it's phantom thievery as usual. You play some levels, beat the boss, next kingdom, rinse and repeat, and that's pretty much the whole entire game. I know I say this word a lot, but the game was extremely lackluster and so meddling coming from a studio like Atlas. It's not a terrible game. I have to give it a 5 out of 10 though, to be fair, because it's just not an exciting game and it doesn't feel like a game that's worth wasting copious amounts of time on, considering that you could just go and play the original Persona 5, or better yet, go play Persona 5 Royal, which is even better than the original Persona 5. So yeah, go do that. If you really want to try a Persona game and you are unsure, just go pick up Persona 5 Royal from GameStop or Amazon or wherever you buy video games and call it a day.